Hello. Good morning. Today is Saturday, April. I honestly don't know what day it is. 21st? 21st? Welcome back to the channel. Earn here. If you are new here, welcome. There's a good chance that you are probably new here because this channel's new and we have 150 subscribers? That's pretty good, huh? Sorry, I haven't eaten breakfast yet and I want to say I'm hungover, but I literally had one glass of white wine with my wife and some friends yesterday. Didn't sleep well. Baby was just hooing and hawing, ha ha ha, yelling. She wasn't yelling. She had a rough night. And so mommy and daddy had a rough night. So therefore, I don't feel as good today as I would like to. Slight headache, but it is what it is. It'll go away. Welcome back to the channel. I earn, buy, sell, trade, collect, vend, long intros, long videos where I'm just going to talk. And hopefully you're okay with that. If you're not, I'm sorry. Thank you for the 1 minute of viewing activity, but this is the best forum, best way for me just to express myself as a someone in the hobby who collects and buys and somehow gets lucky investing and somehow is able to do this for fun and truly blessed. I really mean that, to be part of this. And yeah, I love it. So today we are going to a show in San Mateo, California. I don't actually know the name of the show. I've never been to the show before. My phone is obstructing my GPS, so I need to maneuver. Cards and Collectors Expo. I don't know. I've never been to the show before. I've actually honestly only gone to 2 or 3 of the same company's shows in this area, in the Bay Area. This is one I have not been to. So I'm excited, eager, see what it's about. I have a handful of vendor friends that are going, which is great. Familiar faces, always good. I sent this show to a few friends that live in the area. Oh my God, my neck. Killing me. And 2 of them, the response is, why are you going to a sports show? So, that's kind of the nature of the beast though, right? Those 2 guys, they don't know. I don't know, but I have Pokemon friends vending there. And the nature of the beast is we are growing rapidly. This whole market is growing rapidly. And so, I will, till the day I die, I will continue to be an advocate for people to get involved and to buy and especially to sell. Now is a great time to jump in and just figure out what all this is about and to spend less time online, less time watching general content, and just get involved. Spend your Saturdays, get out there, bring your collection, stuff you want to sell, stuff you want to trade. It is honestly the beauty of the hobby. Man, I'll show a picture of this building I just drove by in San Francisco, where I live now. There's this building that looks like a Star Wars Jedi temple from Coruscant. If you know, you know. I'll show a picture of what a temple looks like. Bloop. And then I'll show a picture of what this building looks like. Bloop. Every time I look at it, I'm like, dang. I feel inspired. Okay. Yeah, great time to get involved, jump in, and just talking a little bit more about the channel and myself. I think part of this garbage truck really wants to get over. I don't miss living in the city. I recently moved back to the city, and so this is new. Aggressive garbage trucks. For me, part of this channel is making something that gives raw thoughts and advice, because I wish I had a lot more of that back in the day. I was on Dan and Nick's podcast yesterday, right? Yesterday, Poke Flips, and one of the things I mentioned was I spent a lot of money early on, and I honestly wish I had over the first year or 2 more. I don't want to say experts, but people with some level of battle scars. Sounds so dramatic. Battle scars, like people who have like walked the walk and like spent money and like fallen on their faces, and like I wish I would have heard more about like this is a really bad idea and here's why. And I bought this and it turned out that it worked out, right? And I think in this day and age, the challenge that how the hell do I make this turn? Um, we all face with content is content these days is generally produced because it catches the algorithm, blah, blah, not because it's based off of some like I don't know true intention of what some people want to create. And like that sounds dramatic, I know, but like for me, what's really important for me is to be true to my authentic self, and I think that's just kind of my lifelong journey. Um, am I doing the things that I believe in? Do I work a job that I enjoy with people that I like, with a mission and vision that I want to be a part of? My hobby, is it bringing me excitement? Is it challenging me? Is it something I can dig into? And with content, I think as I continue to make videos, I'll make them as best I can with when I can. So, ideally I stick to 2 or 3 uploads a week, 1 or 2 shorts a week. We'll see. I'll start a new job soon. I will. We've moved. We got a lot of stuff to do with the old house, a lot of life obligations. Um, and so I pursue the idea of making content because it's therapeutic. It also just allows me to stop being in my own head. And when we talk about the hobby, understanding how to buy, understanding how to sell, getting yourself out there. Trust me, when I say this, I'm an introvert. I like being alone. I like to have my battery recharged all the time. I like to be doing my own thing, and on occasion like to go out, see friends, go to shows. And so I totally get the notion of like, well, I don't like being around people. I don't like meeting people. I don't I don't like seek it. But part of this is the hobbies allowed me to really open up and work on some of the things that part of my personality that it's a lifelong journey to improve on. So I'm not trying to virtue signal, but if you're watching this and you are constantly consuming, go create and go create. I mean, go enjoy and go do experiences and go buy and sell and trade. And today I hope to bring back a haul. I am buying today. Um, I've set aside a budget. There's a bunch of cards that I'm looking for, and I'll show them. Maybe I'll show them after this, at the end of this video. We'll see. You know, I would say I wouldn't promise, but truthfully, I work around when I can edit and upload, and like generally that's pretty fast. And so I'll generally use my Instagram to kind of complement what I do on YouTube. So if you're not following me on Instagram at Earn Collects, follow me there. Sell me your cards. Um, Apologies for the bumps. I can't help it, but this is what happens when you record with the iPhone in a call. So today should be fun. I'm going to be looking. There's some specific cards I'm looking for. I'm going to see if I can still ride the Sun and Moon GX high that I'm on. Specifically looking for gradables, 10s. PSA 9s are not really worth it. Sun and Moons. I think Sun and Moon 9s. Well, actually, I could be. I don't want to say something that's not true. I think PSA 9 GXs are the same as market for near mint. I could be wrong. I know for sure in Sword and Shield that's like you don't want PSA 9. Either you get a 10 or you get a near mint raw. Getting a PSA 9 is sometimes equal to or worse than a near mint raw. So I want to be on the lookout for GXs. There's a couple booster boxes that I want to buy from Sword and Shield. I want another evolving. Market's pretty expensive. It's still 1,300, I think. If I can pay 1150, probably not 1150 cash, 1160 cash, I'll be happy. That's what I'm looking for. And in a PSA 10, I am looking for 20th anniversary. This card is awesome in Japanese. 20th anniversary, Venusaur EX, CP6, Japanese. Picture here, picture here, picture here. Boom. In Japanese, this came in set CP6. It has a gold border, looks so sick. In English, this comes from the EX, Generations EX Premium Collection box, something like that. There's big boxes that are now skyrocketing in price. I think last I checked, they're like $400 a box. I bought mine at like $150 4 years ago. So I guess 4 years to get to double 2.5 times is probably not that much for something like that. But if you're gonna buy stuff like that, non-booster boxes, non-ETBs, the special boxes, collection boxes, any of that kind of stuff, like I would definitely not expect any sort of, how do I want to say it, quick return compared to booster boxes. Like those things sometimes they just sit and they stagnate. And especially now with the market heavily biasing towards price per pack because all the ripper shippers, older stuff, the novelty of a lot of the older stuff, like the collection boxes, the special, that kind of stuff, unless it has a sick promo, that stuff is just kind of, the value of those things are the price per pack and nothing else. And there's a lot of boxes that don't have good promos, honestly. There's a Gengar EX premium collection from X and Y. I saw it at a couple shows. I'm like, damn, this box is like 300 or 400. That card is a basic EX. In a PS10, that card only goes for like 150, I think. And so that box isn't really worth it given the packs. Anyway, just buy booster boxes. Maybe ETBs, but definitely booster boxes. Today I want to talk a little bit about how do you make sense of your risk and your risk profile. And I will tell a story because I like telling stories. I go through life and I always think about, oh, that reminds me of this. That reminds me of that. So this is very, very fresh. My wife, love you, babe. Also, thank your spouses and partners. My wife graciously allowed me to go. I negotiated and she has allowed me to go to this card show today, the first half of the day. So very appreciative of that. My wife, love her to death. She has a habit that I don't like that I tell her all the time. And that is she uses her laptop, MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro is like at least $1,200, right? She will use it as a coaster for her coffee. I'm not done. I know someone's like, oh my God, really? She'll put her coffee on top of it closed. Closed, by the way, not open. She's not a barbarian. On it closed, right? I'm like, honey, don't want to be putting a cup of coffee on your laptop as a coaster. We drink out of mason jars for water. Go. She'll put that on top. I'm like, babe, definitely not a coaster. That's, a very expensive coaster that can malfunction. And then when she takes a bath, she will put the laptop like she'll use a laptop in the bath, like on the edge, on the corner, which I'm like, okay, that's kind of risky. And the corner has like enough space where it's not going to fall in, but it's still kind of like risky. Like she's in the bath, you never know what could happen. And then yesterday she put the laptop not on the corner, but the edge of the bath, which is like doesn't have a lot of space. So it was like kind of wobbling back and forth. And I walk in, I'm like, okay, let's move this over here. Move it to the corner. And then to top it all off, the last part of the story, this morning I go to the bathroom, take a shower, brush my teeth. I go in, I open up the door, and the door opens up, right? The door opens up, and then I opened it past 90 degrees. And past 90 degrees, the laptop is showing underneath the door, and I almost step on it. Like it was on the ground. So why am I telling you this outside of just totally venting? I've had this discussion with my wife. It's probably not going to change, and it's totally fine, right? I mean, it's not fine. I don't agree with it, but it's fine. In her head, it's just a computer. What's the big deal? It's just a computer. And in her head, as she's explained it to me, we have another one, and she has like a backup, like a couple backups from like work, and so like, you know, these are still expensive laptops. She has her own company, so she's had extra hardware, so she can use another one. And for her, the risk of these things just getting absolutely destroyed or malfunctioning is like very, very low. I'm sorry, I should say that. The risk, her risk tolerance, that's a better way of framing it, right? Is very, very high. This could probably happen in that the laptop can be stepped on, it can be knocked over, water can spill on it. I've personally dropped literally one, maybe like a third of an ounce, a half of an ounce of coffee on one of my old MacBooks. That thing, over the course of a day, just stopped working. I was like, it just malfunctioned. And so, anyway, in her head, it's like, yeah, it could probably happen. So what? What's the big deal? The cost to her is, in her head, is negligible, right? She can absorb that hit, and she can just accept that, like, oh, that laptop's gone. And even though it's a high risk behavior that she's taking on, of like not taking care of the laptop and not making sure that it's in a safe spot at all times, she is comfortable with understanding with the idea that, like, if that does happen, you know, she can figure it out. She can figure out a way for her company to pay for it, or we pay for it, whatever. Now, I don't agree with that. I treat my computers and my laptop. I still have my gaming laptop from like 6 years ago, and that thing is like, I overclocked that thing. I put a new LCD, not LCD, a new screen on it. Which, if you know laptops, gaming Windows based laptops, putting a screen, putting a new screen on a laptop is like a a, a level of commitment and insanity, right? Like, I appreciate my hardware because I've been a lifelong gamer, PC gaming, console gaming. Like, I still have some of that stuff. Anyway, so why do I bring up this random story about me seemingly venting about my wife and the laptop and her taking on unnecessary risk? Because we're going to talk about cards. And if you are new to Pokemon as a hobby and you're a collector, right? And I'm talking about the tried and true collectors who don't look at the financial. Like, you're here to play, you're here to collect, fill out binders, common to uncommon to rare to special art, whatever, full art. It's all the same to you. Your risk profile is it's definitely way different than someone who is trying to make money or invest, because you're like Yu-Gi-Oh. You love the heart of the cards. You're there because of the cards and the substance that cards provide to you, and that's the happiness that you get, and that's totally cool. However, most of the people who watch this video will probably be in the age group of, if I had to guess, 19. What is the age range? 19, 24 to 45, 19 to 45, something like that, right? People who are not kids, people who, when it comes to spending disposable income, and in this day and age, because the economy is not good, you're probably looking for a way to spend money, invest money, please. Um, Spend money to make money, right? That's all the rave these days. How do you make money with your time? How do you make money with your money? And so, therefore, you're not the purest collector at heart. You are probably someone who is buying these things, intention to flip, attention to grade, attention to hold, all because there's a monetary value component to this. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think here's the trap. Another Yu-Gi-Oh reference. Here's the Yu-Gi-Oh trap card. When you don't know what your approach is, it's hard for you to be honest. By approach, I mean, like, are you purely collecting, purely investing, purely flipping? It's hard to be honest with what your risk profile actually is, because you're gonna muddy up, well, I have $200 on Friday. I want to buy some cards with the boys, and we're gonna rip it up. But then you could say, well, if it doesn't work out, or if it does work out, then I'm gonna grade the cards. I want to sell them. Or you're gonna say, if it doesn't work out, I'll just go buy some more, right? So you can see that, like, when you start to branch all your reasonings for why you're buying cards, it creates these circumstances, these additional circumstances that will increase the risk that you are taking on that might not match with who you are and your lifestyle and your life, your family, your money, your whatever, right? And I see a lot of that today, where I think people believe that they can take on risk, and they understand what that inherently means. But we're in a bull market, and so risk hasn't even come into play yet, right? Destined Rivals is a really good example. Well, I lied. There's some, like, you buy Destined Rivals at 300, it goes down to 250. Well, actually, let me use that example. You buy Destined Rivals 300, it goes down to 250. Are you okay with that? If you're a collector, you shouldn't care, right? As long as you have the disposable income, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. I bought this thing to collect and open. But if you're buying to flipping and buying to sell, that's when that stuff really kicks in. And I think there's a lot of gambling tendencies in the hobby, a lot of hoping and praying, and chasing what someone else is getting. And it's important to understand, when we talk about risk, what it really means is, are you prepared for the worst case scenario? Are you prepared to take a hit when your investments, your product that you want to flip, decreases? Can you stomach that? Can you manage that? Right? And I think when people think about risk, they think about the other end, which is like, well, I think I can make this much money, right? And unfortunately, it's not really how it works. It is, you'll get ahead. I don't want to speak in absolutes, right? But I want to try to, like, at least provide some nuance. You'll get ahead as you slowly chip away. Maybe it's not chipping away. Maybe slowly adding blocks, like little Lego blocks, piece by piece by piece by piece, by making decisions that are not inherently high risk. For example, let me use a modern day example. Let me think about this, because I'm going to get a good example. Oh, this is like an obvious example, right? I go back to vending. The reason why people buy at 70, 80, 90% cash at shows is because you're baking in two things. You're baking in, platform fees, which people expect, like, oh, if I buy this and sell it, I'm gonna have to pay 15%. And so, like, I don't want to be paying 85%, because I would just be netting exactly what I'm paying, right? That's one reason. The other reason is it gives you a cushion if something goes wrong. It gives you a cushion if, you buy an alt art at, like, this actually happened during the bear, where people would try to buy more singles at like 70 and 80. There was so much risk because the market wasn't going up, that sellers, I guess it would be buyers, sellers who are buyers were not comfortable paying a higher percentage, because the market wasn't giving them enough strong signals that would suggest, if they were to buy higher, the money would be worth it, right? And these things, man, when the knife, they say when the knives fall, they fall fast. meaning the trends for these cards on top of manipulation, which I'm not going to talk about, but on top of people trying to manipulate prices. 1 week, Gengar VMAX could be worth 1,400. The next week it could be worth 1,250, right? And so it's volatile. It changes. And going back to the example, that's how a seller goes into the sources, is they always bake in that cushion and they mitigate how much risk they are taking. So that's a really specific example to like venting. What's a common day example for the average Joe, like me and you? Oh, I mean, with sealed product, let's just take booster boxes, right? Only getting booster boxes at MSRP, or if market is like 50% over MSRP, getting it at most 10 or 20% above MSRP. So like that happens all the time. It depends on your location and your LGS and that kind of thing. But like there's market price, which is TCU player eBay. But then like a lot of local stores and local areas, like LGSs sell them at closer to MSRP, sometimes less, right? If you're an average Joe and you're a buyer, you really want to invest or just have good collateral that you can flip, right? Ensuring that you only pay close to MSRP or within 10% or 20%. It really depends on what the market is, right? That difference between market and what you paid, even though this one time, oh, I paid 250 for Surgery Sparks and market's 270, or I paid 250 for Destined Rivals and market's 300, or I paid market this time, but like that's totally fine. Every time that you do that, every one time that you do that, believe me, and I'm the king at wasting money. That adds up so much. It's so fast. You cannot, I would not, I would highly recommend do not give yourself, do not be okay with yourself doing that because it is a avoidable scenario. And, you know, I've done this many times where I just give myself the okay and the pat on the back. And like, honestly, it's because I am trying to be too nice to myself about the decisions I make. Looking back, I wish I didn't do a lot of the onesie twosie, like, oh, I just let this slide because it adds up. And what you're really trying to do at the end of the day is build. Sorry, I got to get across. And this is a double lane. Thank you. Appreciate you. What you're really trying to build, and anyone who exercises or diets knows this very well. When you give yourself an inch, when you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. When you, what's the other one? If you give an inch, you get a mile. Sorry, brain fog. My head hurts. What you're really trying to build is the habit. Building strong habits in buying and selling when you first start out is hard because there's so much noise, so much FOMO, so much, you know, people talking about what you should and shouldn't buy. And like the real challenge, honestly, is sticking to smart purchases, margins, and not giving in to, again, the onesie twosie times and this and that, because it all adds up. And that muscle that you build, man, some of the most successful vendors I know, they only budge on the things they know that are strategically unique or rare. Or, sorry, friends. You hook me up this time, next time I got you, like they do that. But on a day-to-day basis, random person comes up, I got a bunch of full arts. Would you give me 95? They're like, no, I cannot do that. They stick to it because they understand that they do it this time and they do it that time. They do it for these cards and those cards, unless there's a bigger value at play for them to get, a relationship, maybe I'm next to Roblox. Weird. A bigger deal, down the road, right? More opportunities, then those are the decisions over time that are going to kill your business. It's going to kill your cash flow. It's going to kill your everything, because you're not disciplining yourself to how do you successfully source and run a cards business, and you're kind of just like being okay with doing whatever it takes to get whatever you want. And again, king of making bad decisions. I speak from past experience, and in another universe, I'm talking to myself through a mirror. I've done that, and I still do that to this day, to an extent. But I try to get better at it, and I try to do it in a way where I feel good, at least when I compromise. And I would say that's really what it's about at the end of the day. Do you feel good when you compromise on these things? Or do you not even know that you're compromising at all? Now that one should hurt. Do you even know that you're compromising at all? Let me park this car. That's it. That one should sting. Do you even know that you're compromising at all? And that should speak to, have you gained the experience to understand how all this stuff works? All right, that's all I got. Thank you all for watching. I will show you what I'm going to get today after I get it. I'll show you what I get after I get it. Probably on Instagram. So thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. Hopefully this video resonated. Maybe it didn't. That's fine. Leave a comment, subscribe. Don't forget, on the other video, my first video on this channel, if you leave a comment, like, and subscribe, you'll be entered to win a box of Destined Rivals when it comes out. That's it. All right. That's all I got. Peace, guys.